Hello, people of the internet. So, trying to get some motivation and finish up some of these other projects I got, and I need to make a small trailer to go with the garden tractor that we're putting down in the field. And so I decided to start working on that. I haven't gotten all the parts in for it yet. I'm waiting on a set of tires. I ordered a set of flat-free tires to go on the wagon, and because of how I got it set up, if they work or if I like them when they show up, they're supposed to show up later today. So if I actually like them, I'll probably order a set for the front of the tractor, because the beads, even though they're new tires and I cleaned the rims up, the beads just aren't sealing very well on these. And yeah, I could go get some bead sealer and throw it on there, but that's a whole different thing. If I go, flat free, I don't ever have to really worry about it. So we'll just see. So let's flip the camera around, see what we're working with. All right, so what we got here is the front half of my third garden tractor frame and axle assembly. I know, right off the bat, a bunch of folks are going to be like, man, you should have used something else. Hold on, let me change the camera angle here. Oh, that looks better. And I'm in a tight space over here in the corner. And you're probably right. Like, I thought about using the hydrostat and stuff like that, but with the way the frame channels were formed, just past these pieces where I cut them off, it really hoops up big, and that's where it starts to form. See, I can show you here. Actually, maybe I can. I'm reach stuff. Zoom. There we go. So pointer. That bolt right there. Oop, that bolt head, just in between the oil filter and this piece of framework, is pretty much where I cut the frame off. And you can see it just goes way up. And it stays pretty much that height all the way back. And I just didn't really want the wagon, let's go back to normal. I didn't want the wagon to be that tall. So this is what we're dealing with. I've got, see, what do I got here? So I've got a hitch made up. It's got to be welded. I've got a top plate and two side plates. And the plan is the top plate will kind of go on in here like that, and I'll squish it to sandwich in, so I can weld it here, across here, and over there. And then these plates here will get welded up to the sides and butt up against that beam axle. And between the three of those, there's one for each side, between the three of those, the beam axle should not flex anymore. Then all I got to do is I'll take this out. What I'm thinking about doing is taking this rod out, because the rod ends are pretty loose. I mean, I guess I could leave them, but they're old. And I'll take a piece of box steel, cut it off at angles, drill it to bolt in place, and then I'll come off of the frame down to it, and that'll be my locating brackets. I'm going to take the old engine plate here. I'm going to slide it in. Let's see here. Pick it up. Can I do it one-handed? Probably not. Take the engine plate, slide it in down there. That'll allow me to bring the frame rails in all the way where they need to be. I can put some welds on everything. It'll keep everybody in place. And it'll provide a little bit more structure. And what I got, walk over here to the Pilo parts. I've got some wood to make sides. I've got a 36 by 36 sheet of 1/8 inch aluminum to make a base. And I've cut some box steel. I need to grind out so I can weld it, but I've cut some box steel for a framework underneath. These two will go a long way this way, one at the top, one at the bottom. These four, two of them will go to the very outsides, and two of them will line up with those frame rails in that. Then I gotta build a little V, and get the get the hitch mounted and stuff like that. But for the time being, that's all I really need to do is get started grinding on everything. I got to come in here. I would like to get, and I don't know that I will, I might get my cutoff wheel and try it. I'd like to take the little hot taps that they put in for the threaded bolts. I'd like to take those out of the way so this sits up just a little nicer. But all in all, I can weld that gap. It's not that big a deal. So we'll just see. It depends on how lazy I get. I'm probably going to go the lazy way and just lay that up against there and weld the gap up. But I do have to put like a ratchet strap around and cinch the frame together a little bit before I weld anything. I've obviously still got some more grinding to do, so we'll come back to this when I've got something else accomplished. But so far, that's the overview. That's where we're starting. Hopefully I get something done soon. Okay, and we started welding. Again, my welds aren't beautiful, and evidently I'm blinder than I thought I was, but you know, stuff's in. I don't know what the hell happened there. It got away from me. I don't know. And also remember, always turn your shielding gas back on. Yeah. So that's where we started. I've got to, you know, like with any welding, kind of got to manipulate, move around, and do what you got to do. I still got to get this plate finished. I got it tacked in a couple of spots and a few stitches on this side, but I got to get this side in, and I'm going to have to get some clamps in there to kind of pull it down. Because the center beam, it bows in the middle, so I figured since gravity in my hand could get to one side down, and I just clamp the other side down, that would be perfectly fine. Yeah, so far so good. Haven't lit myself or the garage on fire, so that's always a win. All right, so new day, still working on the same trailer. I did manage to get my wheels in last night, looking at them, pretty nice. Came with more parts than I thought it was going to come with, so that's cool. Bushings and bearings and shims and stuff for these things are always nice when you got a handful of them, so extra parts are extra parts. I did manage to get the, I guess the base frame done. I got the spindles pretty well in line, so they're not cattywampus, toed in, toed out, anything like that. I got to shim up some of it. The spindles are just a little loose in the cast iron arm, so I'm probably going to throw one shim. They can be pretty tight in there. And then when I get the wheels on, I'm going to leave the wheels off for now. I laid out the base framework for the bed assembly on the trailer yesterday, but I haven't really gone into it. So let's look what I got. All right, so this is what I got. Got a 36 by 36 aluminum plate. It's 1/8 inch thick. I got my steel box tube. Yeah, I need to grind it. It's fine. What I'm going to do is, instead of breaking out the squares and trying to make the tube work square, I am going to clamp and square everything up to the actual piece of aluminum. That way I will know where my gaps are, what my gaps are, anything like that. Probably not the way you ought to do it, but it's how I'm going to do it given this. These two, again, when I put these two bars in, they will get lined up so that they lay on top of those two frame rail pieces and can just be welded straight to those. And then I guess it's going to be a matter of, once all that's welded up and mounted into one thing, I just need to find some paint, put some paint on it, and then I can start working on the rest of the bed. That plate, the aluminum, I am just going to rivet to the steel. And it's one of those times where I really wish I would have gotten, well, hold on a second. I'm just rambling. I got to get better about flipping the camera back over and looking at my ugly face when I'm rambling. But it's good. I'm going to rivet it, and it's just one of those times where I really wish I had a pneumatic rivet gun, but it's going to be hand riveted. But honestly, at 36 by 36, if I put 6, maybe 8 rivets in every steel section, it's going to be more than enough. I still got to figure out how I'm going to do the wood. Thinking about just putting in nutserts into the steel, might make it a little bit more tricky when I have to replace the wood, because then I have to make sure that I get the I get my holes lined up. But I think it'll be easier in the long term if I ever want to change anything. If I ever want to go to a metal side, or just if I ever want to change it. So that's where we're at. I'm going to clamp I'm going to reposition all these tubes, clamp them together. Got the grinder broke out. Just start knocking everything down so I got a good place to weld to, and then I will lay them all back out and figure out where I'm going to go from there. So we'll pick camera up then. All right, sorry about the fan, but summertime, it's hot. So as you can see, this is what I got. I have not cleaned up the welds on this side. I did clean up the welds on that side because that's the side the plate's going to bolt to. This side is just going to have that framework over there welded to it, so I am not concerned about how pretty or ugly or anything else looks. Again, I want to get all the cutting and welding of the steel stuff done before I start riveting on this aluminum plate, because I don't really need to paint the aluminum, but I do want to put something on the steel. No, I didn't strip every ounce of rust off of every single piece. I stripped back enough that my welds were in clean areas, you know. In the little joints here, it was maybe a 1/2 inch total. And the bigger spots, it was, well, that one I didn't. I forgot about that one. So that one just got a little touch on that side. But the rest of them, you know, I put a good inch on it. I know some of you guys are afraid to use rusty metal for things. I do recommend, I usually like to use flux core for that, but, you know, I've got solid wire and gas loaded up in there, so I'm not changing that out unless somebody gives me another welder for free, and I'll just keep flux core in that. I don't plan on really changing out unless I'm doing a major job that just I'm gonna load up a spool of flux core, and that's the way it is. Okay, anyway, back to working and less yeah. Okay, so now the frame is fully welded. I did test to make sure the tires fit and everything's good. Like I say, I gotta shim them out a little bit. My welds are disgusting on this. I did not clean things properly. I'm lazy. If you haven't figured that out by now, sorry. You know, so all the welders in the world are screaming out in unison right now. But it's on, it'll do. I centered the spindle setup more rearward. So this area, this is the front where the tongue and the hookup's gonna be. I haven't fully decided how I'm going to do that yet. I am going to take that bar. I'm going to slide it. I marked out a center here. I'm going to slide it all the way across and get back onto that plate. Weld it back there to that plate, because that plate is welded into the framework, which is welded into steel tube. Come out, I don't know, maybe 16 inches. 20 inches, I don't know. I haven't figured that out yet. It'll come out like not quite 2 feet, but 1.5 to 2 feet, I guess. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. So that'll come out here, and then I think to brace it, I will run diagonals off of that maybe over to both of those corners. And I think for what this is going to do, that'll be good. This is going to get, you know, small amounts of stuff from one barn to the field, you know, and that's about it. That's all it's for. And to be quite honest, with the way my wife is about her garden, she'll probably never use it. She'll probably just drive a truck down to the garden and do everything. So, you know, this just gives me something to do to kill time. Let me get this on here and see if I can't start figuring out how I want to set this up. All right, and so it's mostly all together now. I got to get the wheels on, and then I'm going to roll it outside and start shooting some paint on it. Again, you know, using a 5/8 time joint up here, it'll work. It's not, I mean, it's got a 12,000 pound load rating on it, so, you know, I'm not exceeding that with this. And I know, weight rating, load rating, okay, so anyway, but that's the basic structure. That's what it's going to be. I'm going to get some paint on it, and then I'm going to shoot put this guy on, then I'll figure out what I'm doing, pointing and can't see. I'm figure out what I'll do with the boards, because I'm going to make a head and 2 sides, and then hopefully we'll be done. So, stay tuned for more. It'll just be a few seconds for you guys. Well, this is what we got. Finished everything up. I don't know if I'm going to convert this to a jam nut or whatever, but that's what I got. It's 5/8. It fits the hookup on there. A little bit of triangulation. Main beam runs not all the way to the back, but runs all the way to the back of the framing. It's welded in. Yeah, stuff's ugly. It's not pretty. It's wonderful brown paint I've had for years. I bought too much a long time ago, and I'm finally down to my last 2 cans though. So hey, run flat tires. They did come with bearings in them, so that was nice. And they're all nice and super tight in there. Let's say I got tires back in the framework, 3/4, probably 2/3, 3/4. But I like them. I like them where they are. I think it's fine. Again, I think this will be plenty strong enough for what we want. Next, once this fully dries, I've had it baking for about half hour in the sun. Once it fully dries, we'll get the aluminum on top and set, and we'll start building the 3 walls that it needs, and we'll almost have a trailer, and that'll be one more project out of the garage. So stay tuned for next time. Okay, and so it's done. Actually, I filmed this a while back and started watching it, and I realized that I got a little ranty and salty at the end of it, so I decided to redo the whole thing. Sorry, there's no progression. When I got working on it, it just started to go together so quick. I just knocked it all out, and now we'll go over the ending of it. Or not the ending of it. We'll go over how it ended. There we are. So flip the camera around and see what we got. All right, so this is it. Pretty basic, nothing fancy. I already showed the frame and everything like that. I had this piece of aluminum, and it's just riveted in. Let's see. You can see the rivets. It's pretty solid. It's not real tinny sounding, so that's good. The 1x was just random bits, so that's why it doesn't, like you can tell, that one's a little short. That one's a little short. And they're a bit wonky. None of them are straight. They kind of all the way down. In the framework, I set nut certs, and I put in 3 stainless steel 1/4-20 bolts, hold each panel in. And then I had these plates laying around. I don't remember what they were for, but I got them where I used to work. They had 5-gallon buckets full of them. They're 4.5 by 4.5 inch plates, and they had 2 holes drilled in them. I think they were for putting labels and sticking signs on stuff or something, but they're just, like 16th inch. They're like around 16th inch thick, just aluminum plates. And we were doing shop cleanup, and they were throwing away buckets and buckets of these things. So I just grabbed a handful. I've had them around forever. Put a quick 90 in it, screwed them into the wood. That gives plenty of support. It's not going anywhere. The thing rolls around real nice, tilts easy. I'm moving my hand. Pick it up and move it so you can store it. Doesn't weigh a whole lot. It's fine. Came together pretty simply. And flip the camera back around. And, of course, all the light. Move my big head. There we go. So, going to talk about why I did this and why it's the way it is, because there's a couple things on here that I would change. So, number one, this was a quote. Number one, it gave me something to do. Number two, this was the most economical way to get a small trailer for the garden tractor that we're going to keep down in the field for my wife to use with gardening. I'm in it for the cost of the tires. It was like somewhere between $90 and $95 off Amazon. I'll leave a link to the tires I got. And Yeah, that's just the best price. Everything else was scrap that I had laying around, so that's just the best price. Used ones, all the used ones that are around $100 need another probably 50 bucks, maybe more in parts. They all need tires. So it just depends on what you want to buy and how bad off everything is. And some of them, the metal's rusted out, the tongues are bent, things like that. So, needed a minimum of an extra 50 bucks and however many hours of labor or time. When you build stuff like this for yourself, if you're not going into like mass production or trying to resell it or anything, your time is your time is your time. It doesn't count. If you're not trying to make a profit off of it, your time doesn't count. Now, it doesn't have a tailgate, and the sides are really short. That was a request. For those of you that have been in relationships for a long time, when you're doing projects, you give all the options, and then you build it to spec and fix it in post. So if it was me, I'd have put another slat board on here to make the sidewalls just a little bit taller, and I'd have put a tailgate on it with drop down, removable, whatever. But I'd have put a tailgate on it. When the options were given, this is what was picked, so this is what we got, and we'll fix it in post later. So that's just what you got to do. It's fine. But overall, I mean, I'm happy with it. She likes the way it came out. I need to free up some space in the tractor barn. Right now, I can't get into my regular trailer and I can't get into my wood chipper because I've got the sawmill thing set up in there. And I've got some logs and stuff in there. And so I think I found a place up on the hill by my woodshed. I think that's the next project. I'm gonna build a lean-to, move all that stuff out of there from the one barn to the lean-to, move these things out of here. Okay, so picking up, terrible at this, but yeah, trailer works. It's fine. Not in it much beyond what I would be if I found a used one that was laying around out here. It's pretty quick and easy to build. I think total hours wise, I got about 12 hours in it, maybe less. I wasn't keeping track. I would work on it for a little while and stop. But yeah, the hookup mount point is probably going to be an issue at some point. I've done stuff like this in the past for small equipment, utility trailers. We used to mount pumps and stuff to things about this size, and it works okay. You just got to keep the jam nut tight. The jam nut gets loose, it's going to walk all over the place. I'll fix it if I have to later. And other than that, yeah, hopefully it works. Hopefully it's what she wants. If it's not, I'll modify it later and fix it. And, we'll keep on trucking with it. So everybody get out, have fun, have a nice day, and go do something you like.